More on the major news from the Premier League, and at 12:15 a.m, Nottingham Forest confirmed they'd sacked head coach Nuno Espirito Santo. We can cross live to their training ground. Anton Tolui is waiting to speak to us. Hi there, Anton. How are things then? I do believe you've got a bit more news for us, and I guess as well bring us up to date with the hunt for Nuno's successor. But what is this breaking news?
It appears there's only one person in terms of who Nottingham Forest are talking to at the moment, and that is Ange Postecoglou, the former Tottenham, Celtic and Australia head coach. You understand discussions have taken place between Nottingham Forest and Postecoglou at this stage. Obviously, we're not sure how far that's going to go, but yes, it seems as though Ange Postecoglou is the leading candidate at this stage. And I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because people are going to look at this in terms of, it's a complete sea change from Nuno Espirito Santo in terms of style, isn't it? Nuno Espirito Santo sounds defensively sound and obviously liking to hit teams on the break. Obviously, we saw when Ange Postecoglou's team were playing at their best, a completely different type of football. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because you look at the players that Nottingham Forest brought in January as well. They've effectively got 3 front threes that they can play. They've invested heavily in their attackers in the off-season and during the August transfer window. And yet at the same time, I think they want to make the most of the resources they now have. Because obviously, look, on deadline day, they spent 35 million on Dylan Bakwa. They brought in James McAtee, Omari Hutchinson, Igor Jesus. Obviously, they've still got Callum Hudson-Odoi down to a long contract as well. So the club's obviously looking to take the next step in their evolution. They want to be obviously more attacking, more on the front foot. Obviously, that means potentially a good fit for Ange Postecoglou. So at the moment, there is discussions between Postecoglou and Nottingham Forest taking place.
Yeah, and Anton, actually, I was with Ange just a couple of nights ago, just throwing this in because we were chatting a bit about what's next for him. He did say he was really keen to get back into football, really wanted to be involved in the Premier League. His children have settled into school here in England. He stayed in London as well. He seemed refreshed after this summer holiday break, so maybe a good fit for him personally. He wanted to get out of doing those pesky school runs as well. But I'm sure there'll be lots of other people as well keen on a job and a challenge such as this. So who else is in the frame?
Yeah, and interestingly, just following up on Ange Postecoglou as well, you're only going to go back to July and in Greece. Ange Postecoglou and Evangelos Marinakis, the Nottingham Forest club owner, Marinakis giving an award to Ange Postecoglou for being the first ever Greek-born head coach to win a European trophy as well. So they've seen each other over the summer as well. But yeah, when we go back and we talk about other people that Nottingham Forest have admiration for, there are 4 coaches, but they're all in work at the moment. You've got Ollie Glasner, who's done obviously such a fantastic job at Crystal Palace, taking them to European football this season as well. You've got Maurizio Pochettino, the head coach of the United States, obviously former Chelsea and Tottenham Hotspur head coach. And Andoni Iraola as well at Bournemouth is another name that's obviously well liked by Nottingham Forest. But like I said, these are just names at the moment. Obviously, any deal for those would come with A, compensation, and B, probably take a lot of time. Nottingham Forest want to get somebody in as soon as possible. Remember, they play Arsenal at the Emirates on Saturday. Ange Postecoglou is a free agent. And
actually, Anton, let's talk about Nuno speaking openly about his relationship with Marinakis and that breaking down. Do you think the writing was really on the wall after that?
Well, with hindsight, yes, obviously. I think Nuno Espirito Santo thought he had more rope in this situation. I thought he probably had more money in the bank on this because, look, I think, yes, he felt probably quite comfortable to be able to come into these situations and talk openly about his relationship with the owner. He's just got Nottingham Forest to their first European campaign in almost 30 years. And obviously, if he thought he had a very good relationship with the club's owner, obviously before Edu S. Gaspar came in as global head of football. So it's interesting. I think he wouldn't have necessarily spoken as publicly if he had known that his job was as much in peril as it was when he signed a new contract as well. So obviously, he seemed like he was in a good position. But yes, obviously, when you go public about your concerns about the way the club is doing their business, you do run a risk. And I'm sure Evangelos Marinakis will look at it in a different way and look at it in the fact that, look, obviously, as late as April in the season, Nottingham Forest were in the Champions League places, but only 2 wins in the last 8 games of last season, slide all the way down to 7th in the league. And if it wasn't for UEFA's decision to demote Crystal Palace, they'd be playing Conference League football this season. And obviously, Nuno Espirito Santo's last game in charge was a 3-0 humbling, 3 goals in 7 minutes against a then pointless West Ham as well. Would have left, I think, a bitter taste in everybody's mouth as well. Nuno Espirito Santo saying he wasn't happy with that performance as well. So he said, look, when he spoke to us after that game, he said, look, he thought he was going to be back here coaching for that Arsenal game. But it didn't seem overly convincing. All about this dual talk. Were there going to be talks? Were there not going to be talks with Evangelos Marinakis? Marinakis clearly wanted time to assess the situation, take into consideration the fact that Nottingham Forest form hasn't been sparkling over the last 6 months, and he's decided to act now.
Yeah, just picking up on that, actually. Sometimes, sitting down, little cup of tea, maybe something stronger, a good old chat can sort things out. And obviously we understand that Marinakis opted against this meeting with Nuno to try and repair this relationship. Why do we think that was?
I think it was a contemplation period. I think he wanted to assess what was going on at the club, probably see other options that were out there as well. But I think he was more just trying to take into the fact that, look, OK, fine. We've given Nuno Espirito Santo everything he wanted. When he went to the press a couple of weeks ago and said, look, I'm not happy with the transfer business. I'm not happy with the fact we haven't got the players in sooner. Every single position that he asked for, Nuno Espirito Santo got. Yes, it was later than he wanted, but they brought in a load of forwards. They brought in a new holder midfield in Douglas Luiz. They brought in 2 fullbacks. They brought in a goalkeeper. They brought in a young centre-back. That's exactly what he wanted this window, if not more than what he wanted this window. And I think the fact of the matter is that, look, I think Nottingham Forest thought they did all they could for Nuno Espirito Santo, and yet at the same time things were still fractious, and the owners made a decision where he's gone, do you know what, the form wasn't great at the end of last season, we didn't finish necessarily in the European competition we could have finished in, and now I'm dealing with this when I actually feel like I've given this manager all the resources he can have. Do you know what, I'm going to take my time, think about who else is out there, and try to bring someone else in, and it looks as though that person may well be Ange Postecoglou instead of Nuno Espirito Santo.